I feel like a lot of people I talk to are starting to have these moments more and more frequently now. But I was reading this futurism article about a guy named Sam Schnechtler. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, but he was a tech reporter, and he had a bit of a panic moment because what he found himself doing was he started just using ChatGPT for more and more and more and more stuff. He was having it write his emails. He was having it write his text messages, all this stuff. And all of a sudden, he had this wake up moment where he was struggling even just to put together the words for something basic like, hey, do you want to go get drinks tonight? Or say, he couldn't even do it. He just became so used to AI generating it for him, he couldn't. And I, to me, I think we're going to see a lot more of this stuff, and the data backs it. That's, I think, the part that is, this isn't just a hypothetical, like whatever. We know, first of all, one, we've seen this just as a basic example with GPS. There's tons of data showing how having a GPS with you at all times that basically shows you how to get to your neighbor's house that's 3 houses down the road, and you just become so accustomed to that, your brain literally starts to forget how to get 3 houses down the road because you've just not used it. And I think the erosion of basic skills is a real risk with AI. I think we are going to see people, if we don't, and this is, I guess, an encouragement, but also a push to everybody. You've got to be working hard and fighting against the tendency to go, boy, it's convenient to have AI do this. It's really easy, and there's good reasons why. I understand it. We're tired. The world is crazy. There's a lot going on. I mean, as a dad of 8 kids with a very busy job and just a very busy life, there are definitely days where the temptation to go, I just don't want to think about this. It would be so much easier if AI just thought for me and I just didn't even hit the send button. And you know what? Maybe instead of even just hitting the send button, maybe I could just automate it and I'll just make it respond to everything on my behalf and not worry about it. That temptation is there. And I know, I'm sure I'm going to get the people that are going to be like, not for me, not me. I'm going to hold tightly to everything. To me, that's not the solution, to be clear. The solution is not to go old school and analog with everything. That's how we see that, that's like the stories you hear from your grandparents. Back in my day, I used to walk to school both feet, no shoes, no sandals, nothing. And I would walk through 8 feet of snow. You're like, first of all, one, no, you didn't. And second of all, two, that wasn't better. Okay. Like when I hear people that go, back when I was a kid, we didn't even have seat belts. Oh yeah, I know. And I know what the child mortality rate was in vehicular crashes. Like, don't tell me those were better days. So I by no means read things like this about cognitive decay and go, we got to get rid of AI. Stop letting AI be involved in our life. We need to get back to the good old days of doing everything the old fashioned way. No, but if we're not careful and we give in to this complacency and just straight up exhaustion, our basic skills are going to erode. They're going to diminish, and we're not going to be able to remember how to do very basic things. And this guy experiencing this, he's not alone. The number of people I talk to on a regular basis who are starting to have some of these moments here and there, and they go, I tried to do this thing I used to do all the time. I don't even know how. It's akin to if you ask somebody, tell me a phone number of somebody you talk to on a regular basis. Most people can't do it. Now you have to evaluate, are some of these things important or not? Well, yeah, you got to decide that. But if we just start collectively letting this stuff go, we're going to be in some real problems. And the reason is it creates a dependency. So not only do the skills decline, it also then creates a dependency because some of this stuff has to get done. I was having this conversation with my son last night because we were watching this Yes Theory episode of this thing in Honduras called Prospera. That's what it is. And on it, they're doing all these like wild experiments, and it's controversial. So if you want to look it up, you can look it up. But one of the things they were talking about was, implanting chips to be able to do different stuff in people. And, you're starting to see this with prosthetics and stuff like that. And my son and I were talking about the fact that one of the biggest dangers with some of this stuff is that, let's say you get, I don't know, some sort of and this is all hypothetical, so don't freak out, but let's say you get some sort of implanted AI enhancement to your cognitive ability. Okay, fine. Let's say you do that. But let's say that enhancement comes with a subscription cost because, hey, it's not free and we're enhancing your thinking for you. And so now it comes at a subscription. But now this is integrated into your very way of living. What happens when you can't pay that subscription? What happens when things get tight or you start to kind of want to deviate from it and you can't, and you've become totally dependent on it? And this to me is the bigger risk of the erosion of basic skills, is this idea that the more we erode basic skills and even forget the how to do it, there's lots of things I don't do anymore that I intentionally go back and make sure I know how to do them in the event I need to. And I actually build regular routines into my schedule where I do go analog on certain things just to force myself back into the routine to make sure that the muscles still work. And now, in terms of practices for people, that's going to look different for everybody. But my whole goal in doing that is I don't want to get to a place where suddenly something that I need to do on a regular basis has become so dependent on something that when it fractures or when I'm in a position where I can't tap into that anymore, I'm at a complete standstill. And so I think that to me is one of the real concerns that I have with this erosion of basic skills, like basic human communication, the ability to interact with another human being, the ability to take your thoughts and put them into words. That's not something you want to forget how to do or not be able to do without an AI model helping you do it. And so I think we need to be really, really careful about this because the data shows it's real. It's not just like a hypothetical, like, boogeyman that people are putting out there for political reasons. There's real science behind the fact that over dependency leads to an erosion of basic skills, which then makes you more dependent on the tech, which we'd like to think all these things just work, but they don't. And you don't really own any of this. So as much as we'd like to think, well, my ChatGPT subscription is mine. Well, it is till you don't pay the bill anymore, or it is until they go under, or until they do something you don't like and you want to get out and you go, uh-oh, I can't migrate that anymore. So I think those are real risks that we need to think about. And where I go with it is, again, it's not to go, we're all going to go Amish and go off the grid. Some might, and that's fine. I wrote about it this week on Substack. But I think for most of us, it's about having that laser focused intentionality on, hey, if I'm leveraging AI to do something, why? What purpose is it serving? And what am I doing to mitigate the risk of dependence? And what am I doing to make sure the overall skill isn't lost? So just as a really practical example, I like to use AI to help me gather my thoughts. That's fine. But then I'm also making sure I'm thinking about what it thought about in collaboration with me. So I'm still keeping my skills sharp. I'm not just taking what it thinks and then going, that's what I think. And I think those are the kinds of things. Same with communication. Can it help you with your writing? Maybe, but you better be editing and thinking about it and drafting something first that it reacts to make sure you're able to shape things, and then thinking about what did it change and why, and then there's a lot of work that goes into it. And whenever we try and shortcut the work, it doesn't end well. And I think that just goes back to why it's so important to balance our AI use and to be really balanced and intentional about it. It's not, do I do it or not? Those are decisions you might have to make first, but then it's a matter of how. And I think that's where it gets really messy. And so many people get hung up on the first question of, we sit and bicker and argue over whether we will or we won't, or whether it's good or whether it's bad, instead of going, well, why don't we just get into the meat of it? Why don't we just work through this together and see where it goes and what it looks like, and not get into the habit of the you shoulds, you shouldn't type of a thing, and say, well, here's some guiding principles. Here's some things to be aware of, which is what my goal with this was. Be aware that if you don't use your basic skills, they will erode. So be careful what basic skills you're giving to it, and also figure out ways to make sure you're keeping those skills sharp. Also, from a dependency standpoint, if you're integrating AI into things, well, just make sure you have backup plans and backup plans to the backup plans, so that if AI fails, you're not completely out of water. You don't go completely down with the ship. that kind of stuff. Like I just think about like when our power goes out. Is it frustrating that there's certain things we can't do? Yeah, but I've got board games that the kids love and we regularly bring them out before the internet goes out. So if the internet goes out, we just shift gears. It's like, okay, we're going to go do this or we're going to go play this or we're going to like it's fine. It becomes natural.